Fantastic evening. Great to be sat next to the legend himself, Mr. Robert Kiyosaki. And I am truly honoured to be able to sit on this stage and ask Robert some questions. So most of the questions have been put in from you guys. So I have some right here, and we'll get some pearls of wisdom. So, firstly, have you enjoyed dinner, Robert?
It was a great dinner. Thank you very much.
Awesome. So, we want to know, we've had dinner with you, but we want to know what kind of a morning you typically have. So, a question that came in from Rocky, who flew in from Germany to be here for dinner. Rocky, here he is.
Thank you.
He'd like to know what kind of morning rituals you have and what a typical day looks like for you.
About 5 or 6 years ago, I read a book called Miracle Morning. Oh, good. You guys read it too, huh? Fantastic book. So I get up, I do real brief stretching, little yoga, and then I meditate for half an hour, and then I read a spiritual book. Although what I really want to read are financial books. But I take that first hour in the morning is to just calm me down for the day. And it's made a tremendous difference in health, wealth, and happiness. So that's what I do.
Fantastic. Next question, this came from Sandy. What can the next generation do to prosper as we enter an age of artificial intelligence?
There's more opportunity than ever before. I don't know what people are crying about.
Yeah.
I really don't. As I said, I still remember flying from Hawaii, landing in California, getting off the plane in Denver, having a pocket full of quarters, trying to make a phone call into New York City to get an appointment. And if they weren't there, I had to turn around and head back. And so my pockets were full of quarters and things like that. It's so easy today. I just think people are lazy. That's my only thing. I see opportunity every single day. But if you're trained to be an employee and look for a job, you won't see anything. So that, I just can't believe that people can't see opportunities. So that's what I have to say.
Yeah, I agree. I think we're living in a massive land of opportunity. You talk a lot about a crash that's coming and how you can actually make money in a crash. What would you say, advice would you give to the average person? What kind of signs should they be looking for, and how can they prepare themselves for a crash?
Well, I don't know what there's crashes every 10 years. What's the big deal? The difference is, and Sandy and I talk about this all the time, this next one is going to be gigantic. Just be prepared for it. I mean, my wife and I started buying gold back in 1973, and I have millions of dollars in gold coins. I don't have dollar bills, and they're stored outside the U.S. So I'm not really religious, but I heard, that poor people build their house on sand, and rich people build their houses on rock. So the people who have built their lives upon sand, which is the US dollar or the pound or the euro, you get wiped out. I had this question this guy asked me today, I couldn't believe it. He says, well, when do you spend your gold? I said to him, never. And he just couldn't believe my answer. I said, that gold is the foundation of my life. And that gold will be passed on for generations. I don't ever plan to spend it, and I think the question he asked, when do you spend it, was probably the most telling part about it, is he wanted to spend it. And I use gold and silver, real gold and silver, as foundation. And I never plan on spending it. I acquire more and more every year. When the price goes down, I buy more of it. So to me, gold and silver, I write about it in Fake, have been here since the earth was formed. That's why I call it God's money. And the US dollar has only been around a couple of hundred years. It's not going to be here much longer. And so Americans are saving it, which makes no sense to me. I mean, that's how stupid they are. They really are stupid. Why would you save a piece of paper that they're printing every single day, and the interest rate on it keeps coming down? which means when I graduated from school, I got 15% interest on my money. Today, I'm lucky if I get 2%. It just shows you how worthless cash has become. And yet, people will tell people to save money. I just rather save gold and silver, keep it outside of the banking system, in a private vault, one part of it close by, and the other parts in countries unknown. But do it legally, because you can move money illegally and you can move it legally. But just think of the three pigs, the story of one person built their house out of straw, sticks, and brick. So my house is on a foundation of gold and silver, no ETFs. That's fake money, fake gold. I bought my first gold coin in 1972 in Hong Kong. It was a Krugerrand. And I paid about $50 for it. Today that Krugerrand's worth $1,300. So what happened? Did the Krugerrand get bigger? Or did the purchasing power of the dollar go down? And I was just talking to somebody today. In 1999, gold was $260 an ounce. Today it's $1,300 an ounce. You think about that. I mean, what has happened to the dollar? So you just look at the trend. Yeah. I'd rather have what's real than what's fake.
A lot of people that read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I mean, I read the book when I was 16, and it was the first book I ever read, as I told you earlier, and introduced me to the whole world of investing. Everybody's read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, it seems. That they all, after reading it, go on to invest or want to go on to invest. My question for you is, if you were starting all over again and you had just $100,000 to invest, what would you invest it in and why?
Well, I read about it in Fake. It's called an infinite return. I took a real estate course back in 1973, and I learned how to invest without money. So all of my investments are infinite, which means I have none of my money in any of my deals. I started the Rich Dad company with zero. I have no money in the Rich Dad company. And it does about $12 million a year with no money. That's real financial intelligence. So it's called an infinite return, which means you don't have any money in the deal. And I cover that in Fake. It's easy to do. It's easier to do in the stock market. Very easy to do. So the idea that you need money really shows a lack of financial intelligence. Because if the Fed can make it up and the Treasury can make it up, so can you. But it's just a way, or JW would say, it's just how you look at it. It's fake money, so I just make it up.
So you wouldn't need the 100,000, you'd be successful anyway without it?
I use it for toilet paper, but that's about it,
Interesting. I mean, what would you say, there's a lot of people that would say that sounds too good to be true, or you can't make money without money, and obviously you disagree with that. What would you say to them?
Why do I have to disagree with them? I'm talking to somebody who has a very limited mind. God gave you this mind, you can make it up. So I'm not kidding you. Rich Dad, Poor Dad was started in 1997. I raised $250,000 for it, and we paid everybody back in 3 years. It floats now on nothing. It's just air. And it throws off about $12 million a year. All of my real estate deals, I have no money in my real estate deals at all. So that's what I cover in Fake. So the money that I do make, since I don't need the cash, I don't want cash, goes into gold and silver. So it's called an infinite return. It's in the book.
Talking of books, we've had a question here from Kareen, and she's over here, awesome. She says, what's the book that you like to gift your friends and family? What's your favorite book?
I don't even know. I mean, I read so many. What I say to people is, people say do what you love, but I say invest in what you love. And I love real estate, I love entrepreneurship, I love oil, and I love gold and silver. I don't read fiction, and I just read what I love.
So my question for you is, if you were starting again from scratch with nothing, what would be the very first thing that you would do?
I start a company.
You start a company?
Yeah. I'd work, but what I say to young people is find something you'd like to do and do it for free. Go work for somebody for free. Don't work for that money. The moment you do that, you sold your soul, your body, mind, soul. There's so many people I know. I was talking to Brian Rose today. He does London Real. He was a derivatives trader. He said he'd come home sick, making a lot of money. There's a lot of people coming home sick every single day because they sold their soul for the money. And so he's much happier teaching today. And I say that to young people, just go work for somebody for free. The reason I got into this business of teaching is there was a company like Richard and Veronica Tan. I just worked for free and volunteer. And every time I volunteered, I learned more. So I've been working for free for most of my life because I don't need the money. And it's funny, when I work for free, magic happens anyway.
What advice would you give to a young Robert Kiyosaki?
I don't rue a thing. I would do it all over again. And one of the biggest mistakes that schools tell you is don't make mistakes. Well, if you don't make mistakes, how do you learn anything?
Yeah.
A baby doesn't learn to walk unless they fall down. But our society punishes you for making mistakes. And then you have guys like Bill Clinton, the President of the United States, and he lies in front of people and says, I didn't have sex with that woman. What is wrong? Why do we have to lie? Getting a at the White House is not a crime. Lying is. And because so many people are afraid to admit they made a mistake, they lie.
Yeah.
And they waste the most important aspect of learning is you made a mistake. So Bucky Fuller used to say, his mistakes are only sins when not admitted. So if you made a mistake and you don't admit it, you've wasted a sin. You just wasted it. So I've made so many horrible mistakes, and that's how I get smarter.
True, yeah. Fail your way to success.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got a question from Chris. And Chris says, what type of doubts do you have nowadays, and how do you deal with them?
Doubts?
Yeah.
I don't think I have any. It's a different attitude, like nobody wants to fail. I don't like failing. But what I say to people is this: the higher the risk of what you're taking on, the smarter you've got to be. So if I'm taking on something with extremely high risk, it just means I have to study more, learn more, ask more. It's more exciting that way. And then when I fail, which I do constantly, I said, good, I found out what didn't work. I'm starting a new company. So it was very exciting, am I going to fail? Yes. But when I fail, I'm smarter. And it's the attitude I've had for a long time anyway.
I guess that's a similar question. This is from Vincent Chen, and he says, what are your biggest challenges right now, and the biggest challenges that you've faced, and how have you overcome them?
Exercising.
Yeah.
It's not, hear me, you guys. When you're young, it's easy to exercise. When you get older, it gets harder. So that's the reason. I used to love to exercise, but now I'm older, man, it's harder.
You've obviously changed a lot of people's philosophy and helped an awful lot of people when it comes to finances. What do you want to be remembered for, apart from helping people with their financial literacy?
I don't really think about it. I just remember when I was studying with Buckminster Fuller. I studied with him 3 times, 81, 82, 83. And at that time, I was in the rock and roll industry. And I was doing what people said to do, do what you love. And so rock and roll was sex, drugs, rock and roll. I don't do drugs, but I was trying for the sex, and I didn't like rock and roll. So I was working for the bands, Duran Duran, The Police, Van Halen, Boy George. It was so much fun, making a lot of money. And so the 3rd time I was studying with Fuller, he asked me, he says, what are you doing? I said, I'm just making a lot of money. And he just said, it's a waste of a good mind just to make money. And then he said something to me which I never forgot. He says, why don't you do what God wants done? I say, what do you mean what God wants done? He says, sit down and figure out, what does God want done? And do it. It wasn't what I wanted to do. And that's where most people are at. They're doing what they want to do versus what God wants done. So the more I thought about this, like if I could cure cancer, I'd be on it today. But I don't think I have the skill set to do that. So what I did know, he came out with this book right after that. It was called The Grunch of Giants. Grunch stands for Gross Universal Cash Nights. It's how the ultra-rich rip us off. And I said, I think I can do that. And then I said, maybe I should teach people about money, because I was already on that path. So I just remember what Dr. Martin Luther King said, and he's saying the same thing. He said, King didn't say, do what God wants done. What King says, I just want to do God's will. What does God want done? So Martin Luther King gave his life because he didn't think God wanted people to be discriminated against the blacks. So he was willing to give his life to end discrimination. And so when, and that's the benefit I got from going to military school and flying for the Marine Corps, is we did what we had to do. And many people just want to have fun and just make a few bucks, go on vacation. And that's their choice. But it kind of messed me up. What does God want done? And I have more than enough money. But I keep going because I don't think God wants poverty. I'm not speaking of generic, I'm thinking of just generic God. I don't think God wants poverty. I don't think God likes it. There's a gap between the rich and everybody else. And so that's why I do what I do. So why don't I retire? Because I haven't done my job yet. Or as Martin Luther King says, I just want to do God's will. And so I'll probably keep doing this till I die. I don't need the money, but I need to keep doing what God wants done. And we need to evolve as human beings. So that's why JW and I talk about meditation and all that, is because men especially need to mutate. Right, JW? Because if we don't find more peace inside ourselves, we're going to kill each other. I can't understand why kids will go into schools and kill other kids. There's something very sick inside our society. I don't know why we're still in the Middle East killing people. In the 20th century, we killed over 120 million people. So technology has evolved, but human beings have not. So that's why we go and we speak about spirituality and things like that, because if as men and as leaders we don't speak out, then other men will not do the same.
What does spirituality mean to you? Because I've heard you say it quite a lot.
I just want to do God's will. If I can leave you with something, just think about that. That's all I focus on. In faith, I say you gotta look for real teachers. Most teachers are fake. They're called financial planners, it's called school teachers. What you want to do is find somebody who has done what you want to learn. The power of the human spirit. We've lost our soul. We've really lost our souls for money. And I know money is important for most people, but I got past it. So that's why I decided I better start saying something. JW is saying something. We've got to get off of this make money at all costs and screw anybody for the money. So that's why we do what we do, and I teach not because I need the money, but because I need to teach. Yeah, there's a big difference.
Well, I think I can say on behalf of everybody, thank you ever so much, and thank you for writing the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Incredible. Awesome.